We're very pleased to welcome James McQuiggan, security awareness advocate and technical evangelist at KnowBe4 to the MSS Toronto. How are you doing, James?
I'm doing well, Phelim. How are you?
Yes, having a great time. But
Good,
great
good.
to be back. What a day! What a day to be in the security field.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I just got out of a podcast talking about it, so yeah, it's going to be a busy day.
Busy day. Lots of things going
Yep.
all around. Obviously, lots of things in Canada going on, and
Yep.
insider threat and third party risk is key. So I'd be interested. What are you going to be talking about today?
So as I got up this morning and I'm planning my day and I'm looking at the presentation, I was like, I presented at MSS Toronto last year, so I had to look at my deck that I presented last year, and sad to admit, a lot of the slides were very similar. So I'm like, well, this isn't going to work. I have to. So I won't say rebuilt my slide deck, but I do presentations for a living. I love to talk about cybersecurity. So I whisked together a new 250 slide deck. I'm ready to go for the next 3 hours for you, Pelham. So, no. But I have kind of mixed up the presentation. I'm going to focus on a specific thing on how to help prevent those insider threats with with what I'm going to go through. And I'm going to kind of do something a little different. I got some more dad jokes. I realized the other day people are recognizing me for some of my dad jokes. So I've thrown in some new ones for today.
Very good.
We're going to do a little engagement. Seeing as we're virtual, I'm going to get to it in the presentation, but there's an engagement, a participation part to this presentation, and I look forward to hopefully get everybody involved in that. I am going to be watching the chat and the Discord, so if you got questions or you want to react to the presentation, certainly drop it in there. That's what I feed off of, kind of like a comedian and getting laughs on his jokes. So I work on
and groans for the dad jobs, dad jokes. Yeah.
Yes. So all right, well, let me go ahead and share my screen here. So the ever famous conference call bingo. Hopefully you can see me, you can hear me, and you can see my desktop.
Yep.
Which basically covers 3 of the squares, right? So, alrighty, ready to go. Thanks, Phelim. So I was here last year. I think we did it in May of last year. I really enjoyed presenting to my fellow citizens in Canada. I am a Canadian citizen. I now live here in Orlando, Florida. But one of the things that starts my day off every single day is my Tim Hortons coffee. If you don't believe me, I get it shipped from Amazon. So I get to start my day off with Timmy's, whether you do or not. But that is one of my still strong connections that I have with Canada. But if you didn't get to meet me last year, my name is James McQuiggan, and I'm a security awareness advocate. Also a college professor here in Orlando, so love to talk about cybersecurity, love to meet people that want to learn more, but also have an opportunity to talk with you. If you haven't heard of KnowBe4, I think a lot of us probably have, but essentially security awareness training, phishing assessments, that kind of thing. But the thing that impressed me the most when I joined 2.5 years ago was the idea that the mission is to help organizations deal with the ongoing problem of social engineering, which is what we see a lot of issues because that's how we see a lot of the data breaches. But personally, I like the statement that we enable employees, people, to make smarter security decisions every day. And that, for me, that's what my mission is to help educate people so they know how to make smarter security decisions and want to make those smarter security decisions. So, as I mentioned before, I had a similar slide deck that I was going to present today that I was going to present last year. So I've kind of mixed it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little recap of the strategies from the presentation last year, because you can go watch that on YouTube. Then we're going to get back to basics, and then I'm going to talk about security awareness 2.0. Now for something completely different. I mentioned there's going to be a certain level of engagement with this presentation, and this is what it is. I have access to AHA slides where it's an interactive way to participate with the audience. So here, what I want to know, you can scan the QR code. Now, don't come at me about scanning QR codes because I talk about it. I also say, make sure there's a website of what to expect when you scan that QR code. But if you scan the QR code, it'll pop up with a website, or you can type in ahaslides.com/KB4YYZ. And of course, if I'm talking to folks from Toronto, we all know what the YYZ means. So Let's have a look, see if anybody's connecting over there. I got one person. Come on, folks. ahaslides.com, K4YYZ. Great way to interact, because I'm going to ask some more questions throughout the presentation. This is just kind of a fun way to interact and get some responses here. So hopefully we can get, I see there's 4 people connected. There we go.
Where are you sharing the link?
Am I not sharing?
Oh,
am I not sharing my page?
No, you are.
Oh.
We have to go through the QR code. I see. Okay.
Yes, you either visit the website or you go to the QR code. Wow, Bellamy gave me a heart attack there for a second. Sorry. But you can go to ahaslides.com / you can just go to ahaslides.com and then enter the code, or put in the whole address, KB4YYZ. And you'll see that you get a couple different options. This is just to get us warmed up. This is just to get us going. Where, I'm curious how you take your Timmies. What's Tim Hortons? I'd be curious if anybody does that. Coffee, bring on the Diet Coke, for people that don't like to drink coffee. So a lot of people like theirs double. Me personally, I'm a straight up, like my whiskey, give it to me neat. It's black coffee. So cool. All right. So now we're getting some good responses here. This is good to see, because I can get up here and I can talk for hours, but if we can make this a little more engaging, I can drive the conversation, and it'll be a fun way to interact. So somebody asked, what is Tim Hortons? I'm guessing that might be Pelham, being from the UK, but maybe not. So, all right. Well, this was good.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I know Tim
Wasn't
Hortons.
You?
No.
Okay. Well, if you don't know what Tim Hortons is and you live in Canada, you're either living out in the woods but Tim Hortons is on every corner, the coffee and donut shop that's famous in Canada. So that was the first one. I've got a couple more as we go through the presentation. So let's talk about a recap of the strategies. Let's talk about what we talked about last year, insider threats. A lot of the times when we see insider threats, it's relating to, thank you, David. There it is there. With the insider threats, we're talking about negligence threats, malicious threats, or accidental threats, where your negligence could be things that people are doing and not really aware, like having an unsecured database. The picture there shows it's a computer fan. I remember years ago building computers for friends and family, and they would call me up and go, hey, it's running really slow. Can you come over and have a look? And I go over and it's sitting in a cabinet with very little airflow. And of course, the back of the fan is all full of dust, and it's not keeping the computer cool, causing it to run slow, and you get the picture. But that negligence, so a lot of times it's folks making mistakes and not realizing it. But an unsecured database, weak passwords, or password reuse, we've seen attacks with that. Or unauthorized access for terminated employees. Down here in Florida and Oldsmar, that's how they got in. Same with what we saw with the Colonial Pipeline. When we look at malicious attacks, now these are certainly ones that are ones where they've meant to do this. They're either installing backdoors in software, it could be corporate espionage, or it's IP theft. And they're doing it either they want to take their sales records with them, but they're sending it up through the cloud, copying it onto USB drives, or through email. And a lot of the time folks think, they won't know I'm sending stuff through email, when in fact they do. Other times it could be accidental, dumpster diving. This is kind of one of the big things with social engineering. Cyber criminals, if they're scoping out a particular place, they'll go to where they're working and start rummaging through the dumpster to see what they can find, all in that attempt to look at trying to get to collaborate with someone or find somebody to get them to do the activity they want. Tailgating or shoulder surfing. Now that we're starting to hopefully, some of us are starting to travel again, but getting back out, shoulder surfing becomes an issue, sitting on airplanes, that kind of thing. And then of course, we start talking about phishing, the smishing, the vishing, the quishing. The quishing, the QI-ishing is of course the QR codes. But when we look at supply chain attacks, I used to have this spread across 3 slides. Now I have everything from Target all the way up to Kaseya, with all the different supply chain attacks and breaches that we've been seeing. I'm not going to go into details. We're familiar with them. But this is just, I've been talking about supply chain and insider threats for the last 7 years, and I just haven't felt the need to want to drop off my Targets and my Home Depots. They're part of history now. So essentially, it's something that we have to be aware of, that these attacks, it's where it started and where we're going. So, all right, next question is, let me get it queued up here. Have we experienced the worst in third-party attacks, or is this just the beginning? And you can go ahead and jump on the, go back. If you're on that website, you can just refresh the page, or it might pop up that it says, hey, I've changed the slide, go to the next slide. So I'm curious, have we experienced the worst based off of, what I'm showing here, or is this just the beginning? So I'm just curious. Again, no registration. It's all anonymous. I don't know who's submitting what answers. So I'm curious. Yes, we've had the worst. Let's hope it gets, or we're not sure, or this is just the beginning. Wow, I got a lot of us. Well, we think this is just the beginning. Getting a lot of love on this one. Cool. All right. I put some animated GIFs in this one just to have some fun with it. It's kind of a fun way. But, Jim going, yeah, not sure. Okay, so pretty well. I don't think this is going to change. But essentially, everybody feels that this is just the beginning. So if we know that this is just the beginning, then we certainly want to make sure that we start working to secure the organizations with regards to insider threats, third party. Again, part of this recap, third party risks, supply chain within hardware. I had a buddy of mine who took an ASA firewall, embedded a chip onto it that when the ASA fired up, it sent the configuration, usernames and passwords, everything out of that router to his C2 server, and he was able to collect that information. Took him a couple of weeks to research and figure out where to plant the chip and programmed it and everything else. But doing the whole, once he had the chip programmed, soldering it on, powering it up, and getting the information was less than 20 minutes. So he presented this at DEF CON, and he showed us the board. And if you could look at the board and figure out where the chip was, he'd give you $100, and nobody could figure it out. Supply chain with software, Log4j is more of a vulnerability, but it does represent the issue within the supply chain because we had so many products out there using the JavaScript with the log and that vulnerability. And then, of course, we start looking at cloud and the issues that were surrounding with cloud, inability to really gain a lot of insight. A lot of folks struggle with that. We talked about securing critical data, identifying what that critical data is, protecting the data, going through with your organization or working with the organization to figure out, all right, what's critical? What's going to get the CEO up in the middle of the night if something gets stolen? Having defense in depth, those different layers, and then looking at your remote access solutions as well. Making sure that whoever's coming in has the right controls, limiting the controls and access everything that's in there. And of course, with regards to the remote access defense in depth, that all comes back to having a GRC tool. And of course, I'm sorry, shameless plug with KnowBe4, but the KnowBe4 Compliance Manager, where you're able to handle all your vendor questionnaires, have your policies, look at third-party risk and audit cycles. I ended it by basically saying, identify your assets, collaborate and identify your risk, determine who needs where for what for third-party access, understand and monitor all the connections, look at your incident response plans with third parties regarding their incidents and yours. Remember, there's no silver bullet, and make sure to educate and assess your employees on cybersecurity frequently. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Hopefully that's been, don't panic. I'm only kidding. Like I said to Pelham, I've got like 250 slides. Which brings me to the point, what are a computer's favorite snacks? Microchips, cookies, and fish sticks. Okay, so what I want to do now is let's get back to basics and looking at people as a critical layer within the fabric of our security programs. We've got the technology and the technology out there, and it's great and it works. But essentially, anybody inside that organization that has email has that proverbial key to the front door of your organization or organizations that you're supporting, because they click on that link, they open that attachment, they enable the macros, they're opening up the front door. The cyber criminals are able to walk in. But in the case of the real world, when you open up the front door, you're not going to see them walk in. They're going to do that silently. So it's important that people are recognized not just as humans are the weakest link. They're the biggest attack vector because it's a lot easier to hack them than it is to hack the technology. So looking at security awareness and training, getting a baseline testing, going ahead and educating your users, whether it's KnowBe4 or anybody else, but getting your users educated and then going through and doing assessments on that, making sure that they're aware of that and then reviewing the results. When we look at that training, that content for engagement, you want it engaging. Kind of like what I'm doing here. I don't get to see anybody. I get to look at my camera and my ring light. but I want to try to make this engaging so that there's that ability to pay attention or desire to pay attention. So with your content, with the training, it's got to be engaging. It's got to be interactive. Whether you've got posters, whether there's games, whether there's the different phishing templates, you've even got videos. One of the things that helps drive that narrative is have a video that's more story-based than the learning, the education. Having that to kind of help drive home the points as well. But it's important that within the program, you think like an attacker and plan like a marketer. Going through, figuring out how a cyber criminal would try to get in the organization and work that angle, work with the marketing teams or the PR teams, because they deal with campaigns all the time. And if you get their buy-in, they're going to help drive the program as well. So talking about those phishing assessments, I'm really curious. Let me get the next question up here. Have you ever been a victim of phishing? Because we've just been talking about it. I'm really curious to see if you have. I know I have. Several times. I've almost been phished, but one time within KnowBe4, we get phished at least twice a week. And it was about 11:59, middle of the week. I was in a Zoom call waiting for a customer to connect, had to have a conversation about a presentation I was going to give. And I usually have my email minimized, but on my phone that I have on a charger in front of me, it popped up with an email message letting me know that somebody was waiting for me in the meeting. Well, I was already in the Zoom meeting and there was nobody there. So then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, are they in the wrong meeting? Which one is it? So I open up my email and find that Zoom email right there. And I open it up and I click on the link that says connect to the meeting. I'm like, which meeting are they in? Let me see. And I click on the link and up pops the KnowBe4 login screen. And I was like, are you kidding me? Lo and behold, yes, they got me. Right time, right place. I was rushing. I was worried that I was leaving the customer hanging. 11:59. If it had been 11:54, I probably would have taken a moment to go, let me check that. And I would have hovered over the link. 5 minutes later, I knew it would have been bogus. But essentially, right time, right place. So sometimes it's not a matter of creating a really good email. Sometimes it comes down to the timing of it as well. So let's see what everybody had to say. We got 8 that haven't done it, or sorry, 6 that haven't done it, and 7 that said yes, 2 that admitted that they did get phished, and 7 that are saying no, but maybe or maybe they didn't. But that's good. Somebody asks, what's phishing? Of course, we know with phishing, it is the art of where cyber criminals will send out hundreds of emails, hundreds of thousands of emails out to people in the hope to get them to click on a link and open up that front door to their system so that they can get in there. When we look at phishing with regards to an organization, we've collected all this data and looking at the different phases. When you don't do training, and you can look at whichever organization that you do a lot of work with, education's tough, construction, I think the other one is utilities, energy and utilities. They're like 1 in 6. 1 in 6 people in that organization are going to fall for a phishing link if they don't know what they're looking for. After you do some training and after about 90 days of doing those frequent phishing assessments, you can get the number down to, sorry, it was 1 in 20. Now we're down to 1 in 6. Now you're down to about 16%. Eventually, after about a year, you're doing those phishing assessments. Now you get it down to about 5%, 1 in every 20 people, maybe even 1 in every 30, depending on what you have. But essentially, you're looking at bringing that awareness and education to folks, because essentially when you go through and you click on that phishing email, for the 7 or 8 of you that hadn't done it, when you click on that link and you realize it's a phishing link, you kind of go through these different stages. You go through shock where you're like, I can't believe I did that. Denial. No, I didn't do that. No. It opened up the link, but I didn't download anything. Or I closed the browser down as soon as I clicked on the link. Then you get angry because now you've got to do some sort of security awareness training, or the cyber criminals did steal all your data and hit you with ransomware. But eventually there's an acceptance phase that comes into play as well, where you're like, all right, I'll do the training, learn my lesson. I got to hover over the links. I got to check the links, got to be aware of the latest attacks that are out there. But the thing to remember is, especially with the assessments, it's not a gotcha moment. It's a teaching moment. We went through school. I remember my math classes, they assigned you those 30, 40 math questions every night, going through and working the quadratic equation or square roots or whatever fractions or whatever it is you were doing. And you might get some of them wrong. But in that environment, in school, it's that safe environment where we're not trying to catch you. We're not trying to give you in that gotcha moment. We want you to learn and have that education. Yes, you got to go do the refresher training, but maybe there's something else that we could work on. But who's at risk when it comes to the phishing attacks? New or seasonal employees, senior management, people with high authority, maintenance staff, maybe people who are active on social media, maybe HR. Everybody's at risk. Anybody that's got an email is at risk of a phishing attack. But there are three realities when it comes to security awareness. Just because I'm aware doesn't mean I care. And this one's a fun one because all we got to do is think about when we get on the road and we start driving and we get to, the speed limit says 100 kilometers an hour and we're doing 120. I know the speed limit's 100. I'm just making sure the OPP doesn't catch me. Going through though, that's that whole I'm aware doesn't mean I care. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to check the links when the email comes in, but you know what? This one looks fine. If you try to work against human nature, you will fail. A lot of this is where we start seeing the shadow IT, people standing up their own cloud servers or using cloud drives or using other software or creating their own products within the organization because they don't want to work with IT. But trying to work against them, it's a matter of having to work with them to make sure that they understand the why of why certain things are in place and then working with them to adjust that. Because what you do is way more important than what they know. If they turn to you and go, hey, look, I want to start using multi-factor authentication on this application. How do I set it up? That's huge versus, yeah, I know about MFA and something I have, something I know, something I am. But knowing that they come to you, that goes a long way as well. Well, I don't know if anybody realized, but with the new iPhone that's coming out, you're going to be able to just use your smile to unlock your phone. Yeah, it's called two-factor authentication. So, okay, security awareness 2.0. Now we're talking about security culture. Now we're talking about that behavior. And essentially, why is it hard to get those desired behaviors? Why is it so hard to get people to do things? Well, basically, when it comes down to it in our behaviors, we're lazy, we're social, and we're creatures of habit. Bottom line. We should be designing products that fit that. If lazy, not in the sense of sitting on the couch, but lazy in the sense of wanting to, having to relearn something, they're going to put it off. They're social, they like the interaction. Creatures of habit, they like doing the same thing every day. Like when we get up in the morning, we shower, we shave, or we shower, put our makeup on, have breakfast, have our coffee, go to work, do our job, get at the end of the day, cook dinner, sit on the couch, drink wine, go to bed. Rinse, lather, repeat the next day, so to speak. But when we're looking at those behaviors, a lot of it comes down to what I know, what I see, hear, say, and feel. And all of those relate to your cognition, what I know about something, what I see, the norms, the unwritten rules that go on in society with folks, what I hear, that compliance. When you hear about different people doing different things, what I say, the communications going either up to upper management or talking to IT or talking to the business, and what I feel, the attitudes. And that's key. When you can work those attitudes and get them to change their attitude, that's the hard part right there. So BJ Fogg, who's pretty well the father of behavior design, came up with a model where you have a motivation, ability, and a prompt. And where you have the motivation to do something, that ability to do it, and then the prompt, when all those three things come together, then you're going to have a success. So let's give an example real quick. Here's we talk about phishing emails. There's a motivation. They get the email in their inbox. They want to make sure, the motivation is to check to make sure that it's not a phishing link. Because if they do click on it and it's an assessment, then they're going to have to do remedial training. They want to be able to protect the organization. And that's what a lot of this comes down to. We talk about with security is protecting that organization. The ability is they know how to find the link and they know what to look for in the link and they understand the makeup. The prompt, the email shows up and it might be strange. Am I expecting the email? Do I know the person? Are they getting me to do something in a hurried manner, or is it an urgency or just a really strange request? They've had the training, and the email regards LinkedIn you're sent to your work email when in fact you don't have LinkedIn to your work email. LinkedIn is connected to your personal email. So pulling these three things together to work those behaviors. Sometimes it's about nudging your audience and to get that behavior that I want. The nudge theory came up by Richard Thaler and Cass Sustein. here's one of the fun examples that I like, where you had a men's bathroom at Schiphol Airport, where the custodians would go in every night. And I do apologize to the ladies watching, having to look at a men's urinal, but they would go in, and underneath the urinal, it was always, we'll say, a mess. And so they realized they could put a sign up that says, "Gentlemen, please take aim, be careful." No, they decided to paint a little fly inside of each of the urinals. And lo and behold, the next day when they came in to clean, the floor was a lot cleaner. So that little nudge, rather than putting a sign or have somebody, hey, make sure, you keep it in the bowl that way. Here you got another nudge. You can either put your recyclable, your water bottle, your Diet Coke bottle into the ugly, scary looking landfill box, or the nice, clean and pristine recycle bin. This one I particularly love. Hey kids, free fruit. We're always having a fun time trying to get our kids to eat fruit, trying to, eat our fruits and vegetables. Well, here's a great way. It was set up at eye level for the kids, get a free piece of fruit, and then a measuring stick, a yardstick. See how much taller you're getting by eating fruit. And then, of course, the round up your dollar. Rather than having somebody standing outside collecting money, you just say, "Hey, you want to round up?" It's a push of a button and it's done. Sometimes nudging them in the right direction with passwords. We want to get them to create that strong password. When it's, only 6 characters, it's not great. It's red. You maybe add some more characters, a number, a special character. Now you get to okay. And then when you meet the requirements that you're looking for, then you get great, and it turns green and everybody's like, "Woohoo, good. I got a strong password." That's that nudge in the right behavior. But a lot of this comes down to getting them to understand the why. You're going to have the why. You know what the what is you want to make sure the organization's secure, but understand the why. Why is it important? Because a lot of the times folks, when they're told to do something, they don't understand the why. So educating them on that why is important. So what I'm really curious, and I know I'm getting close to the end of time here, but what I want to know is, how do you define security culture? And I've given some options there, and I'm kind of curious to see what everybody has to say. So you can visit ahaslides.com/KB4YYZ. Or just, I've already advanced the slide. So if you've got your browser open, you can just advance over to it. I'm really curious. Let's see how folks are answering. Awareness and understanding of security issues. Security is everybody's responsible. Cool. Security embedded in the organization. Okay. Compliance. Nobody said compliance with security. Okay, that's good. Security advocacy and support. All right. So security, we got a majority of folks saying security is everybody's responsibility. Then we get security embedded in the organization, and then awareness and understanding of security issues. Cool. All right. Well, what I want to share with you are the results that we did. We sent out a survey to organizations and security professionals to ask them, talking about security culture, and they say it's important and it's needed for organizations. But one of the questions we asked was, how do you define security culture? And these are the results that we got. And the 12%, the one that's circled, is security is embedded in the organization. That's how we define security culture. That's what we're looking for in the answer, because security culture is defined as your ideas, norms, customs, social behaviors that impact your organization overall. And so if you're going to grow security culture in your organization, it's crucial for everybody, from the front desk to the boardroom. You want to ditch the jargon, make it easy so that people understand it. Security awareness and training, not doing the computer-based training, but some sort of training, some sort of awareness program or something, should be monthly. Plan like a marketer, plan like a marketer, plan like an attacker, think like an attacker, plan like a marketer. There it is. I knew I'd get it. Try not to work against human nature. Folks that push back, make sure they understand that why. Build a healthy culture with examples of ideal behavior, especially coming from the top. The other thing to consider is your security culture posture. Where do you sit? Are you handling basic compliance? Are you doing the security awareness? Now are you doing the security awareness and looking at changing behaviors with the phishing assessments? Then you get to level 4 and you've got security behavior. You're looking at changing behaviors, getting people to realize that, okay, I've got to have strong passwords. I should use a password manager. I need to look at, what more needs to be done to keep the organization secure. Now you start seeing that shift, that blue line, your maturity level starts to increase. The opportunity for risk of an attack coming in through a social engineering drops. And then eventually you get to a sustainable security culture where folks have it top of mind, they're working through, everybody's aware of it. And we did a study, and basically you can see the little dots. 2 and 3 is kind of where we see a lot of organizations right now. Some outliers in 4, and then even less out in 5. But this is what we're working towards. We want to get the majority. We want that shift to be over in 4 and 5. Cheesy marketing plug, but we have a security culture maturity model that's available that you can download from the KnowBe4 website. So with all these websites and everything, anybody know where a website goes when it's not feeling well? To the urologist. So, okay, going to wrap this up. Phishing assessments is going to help reduce data breaches, ransomware attacks, increases productivity because people don't have to have their machines imaged, reduces data loss, and you reduce that risk overall. Because I know this is what it's like for the MSSP team or your MSP team, where you got defense in depth, you've got all the technology, you got the policy and everything going on, and then some user clicks on the email and that arrow goes right between there, opens up that front door, lets in the criminals. I know this is what it feels like some days, that you as a little digger digging out and you're working with all those organizations, but it's a matter of having to go through it one day at a time, one program at a time, working through it. Because an organization's cybersecurity culture is only as strong as its weakest supplier's security culture program as well. So it's important making sure working with everybody with regards to that. Finally, anybody know why PowerPoint, seeing as I've been doing a PowerPoint, crossed the road? Yeah, to get to the other slide. And I want to thank you all for your attention, your participation in the AHA slides. I am curious, just for some quick feedback, I do have another AHA slide about what you thought about the presentation, and you're welcome to answer in that, and that's up there now. But Phelim, back to you, sir.
Like it. And thanks for including these AHA slides. I must admit, I'm not familiar with them until today. So I'm going to say that it went above my expectations.
Thank you.
In my reply.
There's a lot of different. I did a lot of research on the different products that were out there, and I just liked what AHA was doing. They're kind of going into, mainly because of the education background and working in education. It's great in there, but it's kind of something fun and different. So
I like it. What's next for you, and how can people get in touch? You've put your details down. Yep. And will you be in the Discord channel as well?
I'm going to hang around for a little bit. Yep. I think I was right after you, Phelim. I dropped in my LinkedIn profile. Connect with me on LinkedIn, please. I'm always posting about current events, cybersecurity, things that are going on. And you're welcome to connect with me out there. And I will, if you want, send me an email. Email's there, jmcquiggan@knowbe4.com, if you want a copy of the presentation.
I love it. Well, thanks very much, and thank you to KnowBe4 for supporting this event and so many others in our series. Let's give James a big virtual round of applause, and I've sort of started everyone off with a clap function. I look forward to seeing you in the audience.
Thanks. Good seeing you again.